I'm Ananya. I'm a junior content manager with Trip 101. Today, we're traveling all the way to Hokkaido with AJ, who has joined us for this call. He recently traveled to Hokkaido. He covered the capital city, Sapporo, and a couple of other towns. So, he's going to tell us all about his itinerary, where he stayed. So, over to you, AJ. We'd like to know first more about you and what sort of traveler are you?
Hi. Well, so I'm AJ, but I also have a handle, actually, the Transcendental Tourist. It's an old school blog, and it's a written blog, not a vlog, which is, what most people do now. But mine is it's also an old blog. It's 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I started blogging in the late noughties. And so I record all my travels there. So yeah, so I think that's about me.
So, your blog is still active, right? You're
It is active, yes. So 15 years and going strong.
That's quite wonderful. Yeah, in the day and age of like all when it's all about videos and blogs, you're still keeping it strong with like the old school blog.
Yes, I don't think the written word is going to go out of vogue anyways. And I think it's more everlasting, the post, because, you can always go back to something that was written rather than, I think video is more the immediacy of it, so it's more the timeliness is
Yeah.
crucial in videos. But I think for articles, you can go back to it even, years later and it would still be okay. Yeah, still be fresh.
Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment because I find that when I read stuff, I absorb it more compared to when I see things on video. So that definitely holds true for me. Yeah. So AJ, where are you based out of?
I'm based in the Philippines. I'm from
Oh,
Manila.
oh, okay. And how long have you been traveling? The same amount of time? 15 years, as long as your blog has been active.
Yeah, but of course that does not include, my rare trips in childhood. So yeah, my mom was really my first travel icon. So I think I got it from her. She didn't travel a lot, but she encouraged that love for that curiosity, I think, for new places. The first book I ever read as a kid was The World Atlas. So there. So I think even back then, when we backtrack to my childhood, I was really already into travel even before I was even traveling. So it really started from there.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And so then once you grew up, you started out on your journey to map the world
Yes, I was
from your
yeah,
atlas.
I was very curious about the countries or the places I read on the atlas. And then my mom also bought me a inflatable globe. And
Oh,
so it really all started from there. So that's why I credit her, for my love for travel.
okay. So are you the type of traveler who sort of maps or counts like the number of countries that you have visited?
I'm very bad at numbers, so I'm not much of a planner, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I'm not that kind of person. I'm more spontaneous, and of course, you have to plan somehow.
Yeah.
But I think I make the minimum amount of that in my
Okay.
trip. Yes.
That's good too. I think sometimes, like you hear about a lot of travelers who put it a lot of like, research and planning before they actually go. And it
Yeah.
sometimes becomes intimidating. But it's good to know that, there is a way of traveling that can be also like, when where you can be spontaneous, and especially like with international travel, that is to say. So
Hmm.
get to know you a little bit more. When you do your trips, is it usually like you travel by yourself or do you travel with a group of friends or your family?
I seldom do solo travel, so I'm usually with friends or family.
Oh,
Yes. I don't know. I can't be alone with my thoughts for for days. So I prefer having someone with me.
oh, that's great. So Do your friends and family also like this kind of spontaneous travel, or are some of them planners?
Well, fortunately for me, they're not. They're the planner. Maybe that's why I need them because they plan and I just, okay, I'll just go along.
As long as there's that balance.
There's a balance. Yeah. You
Yeah.
can't all be planners and you can't all be spontaneous.
Yeah. Someone has to do the grunt work, and like the others have to sort of pull up the spirits by their spontaneity.
Yes.
So coming to the destination that we're discussing today, Hokkaido, how did you end up like selecting it, or was it like in the moment spontaneous decision?
It was almost on a whim as well. I was just chatting with my high school friends, and we have a messenger group chat. And one of them just proposed, where do we all want to go? And then she put up a poll. I don't remember now the other places that she put there, but one was Japan. And so
Okay.
I took Japan and I specifically said Hokkaido. It's like Hokkaido or bust. Yes.
And then the rest of the people must have also voted for it, and that's how it got selected by majority.
Yes, yes. So thankfully, they agreed with me.
Okay, so when was this trip that you did with your high school friends?
We went there last January. We specifically wanted, or well, I specifically wanted to go to Hokkaido in winter.
Okay.
I live in the Philippines. It's a tropical country. We don't have winter here. And although I've lived in another country before that had winter, but it was subtropical, so there wasn't any snow.
Okay.
So I've only experienced snow one time when I also went to Japan, to Tokyo. But you know how it is in Tokyo. It's not, I mean, winter there is not very snowy.
Hmm.
So I really wanted to experience snow, just like what you see in my background now. And Sapporo is the second snowiest city in
Okay.
the world.
So that's how you selected
That's
Sapporo.
how it got. Yeah, I couldn't go to the first one, so I settled for the second one.
Okay. So it was snow that made you pick your destination.
Definitely.
So did
Snow
you
or
find
go.
did you find the snow in Sapporo to be enough or like to your satisfaction?
It was, when they said it was the second snowiest city in the world, they weren't kidding. So,
Okay.
snowbanks were taller than me on the sidewalk. Yeah, so that was exactly how I envisioned, Sapporo.
Okay.
And well,
So
be
it
careful
was
what you wish for. We
so
got
it
it.
was
We got
a successful
snow
trip.
down.
Okay. So it was January, early or late January when you went?
It was late January. Originally, we planned it to be in February because there's a annual snow festival in Sapporo. And, they make very nice ice castles, ice sculptures. And so it's definitely a thing to see. Unfortunately, though, I had family commitments around the same time of the festival. So I just told my friends, I'm sorry, I couldn't make it anymore because, I couldn't go there at the time. And then they also, thankfully, again, they changed plans to accommodate my schedule. And so
Okay.
we all decided January, even though there was no snow festival yet. So yeah, I owe it to my squad. Shout
Okay.
out.
So is Feb like a really popular time to travel to Sapporo when the festival is happening?
Yes, so Hokkaido in general, I think is a winter destination.
Hmm.
So it's also, a popular venue for, say, the Winter Olympics. And because of the amount of snow that they get, and also the rural landscapes, mountain landscapes, it's good for skiing, snow sports, etc. So I think Hokkaido in general really receives a lot of tourists or visitors during winter.
Okay. That's great, yeah. But when you went, it was a little bit before the actual festival takes place. So did you find that it was a good time to visit, or would it have been better if you had gone at the time of the festival? Did you feel in any way that the timing could have helped maybe?
Well, I mean, if you're going to go for perfection, then go for the snow festival, definitely. But, life is not perfect, and we have to make the most out of, circumstances that we're in. But I would say that Hokkaido at any point during winter, or maybe even autumn, other seasons, is beautiful. So I don't think there's a bad time really to go to
Okay.
Hokkaido or to Sapporo. It just depends on, what you want to do, what you want to see. But I think it's an all year kind of destination.
That makes so much sense. Yeah. So apart from Sapporo, which were the other towns that you visited within Hokkaido?
I was only there for a week, so I got to go to Otaru. It's just an hour or so by train from Sapporo, and Furano, which is in the opposite direction in the north. That one's a bit farther. It's in central Hokkaido.
Okay. So two more locations apart from Sapporo.
Yes.
And your trip you said was 1 week long.
Yeah, I was there for a week.
So Otaru and Furano, they were both day trips, and the other 5 days you must have been in Sapporo itself, right?
Yes, one of those days there was a blizzard, so the train service was canceled. Yes,
Oh,
and I had to stay in the city. So
and
I
that's
think that's the only downside to traveling there in winter. There's, sometimes you get snowed in. But that's weather. We just have to hope for the best. I think even here in the Philippines, we have typhoons. So like when you go to the beach, you just
yeah.
have to hope that, the sun is out certain months. Yes.
It's part of the experience, staying
Part
in.
of the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really sweat it. It's
Yeah.
part of it. And, it was my first blizzard anyway. So, even being snowed in was a novel experience. It's something that I relished. So there was really no loss,
Yeah.
really.
And there's something really cozy about being indoors and watching the snow outside as well.
There's nothing better. It's similar to watching the rain from
Yeah.
indoors.
Yeah.
So long as you're not wet.
Yeah. So, AJ, I think we've come to the point where we'd like you to sort of walk us through your itinerary, the
Mhm.
days you were in Hokkaido. If you can tell us about what all you visited, what you did in the days that you were out and about and not snowed in. So, would you like to get
Um, mhm. Okay, so well, getting to Hokkaido, I think, well, especially from my place, from the Philippines, we had to take two flights because we don't have direct flights to Hokkaido to Sapporo. So we had to go through Tokyo. So I think for many countries as well, there aren't many direct flights. So you mostly have to go through Tokyo or somewhere else. And since we had to take two flights and, layover, etc. So when we got to Sapporo, we really just wanted to chill, recovery time, especially at our age. We're not spring chicken anymore. So we just spent the first day really just nesting in our hotel, which is named appropriately because it's Nest Hotel Sapporo or Sapporo, Ikime. That's where we stayed. And then the following day, that's when we started, going out. So we just wanted to make it very chill. And so we decided for the first day to go to the city of Otaru. Otaru is, I think it's south of Sapporo, but it's just about an hour away. So, the thing in Japan, you have to get a JR pass. Is this card for the train service that you can use, for whatever amount that you put in there. And so that's what you have to do at first, when you get to Japan, you get that pass. So you don't have to line up, queuing to get tickets, etc. And you can just, swipe away and take the train. So it was very convenient. In less than an hour or so, we were in Otaru. Otaru actually is a smaller city than Sapporo. I would find it quaint. Really, I think it's quaint. And what can I say about it? You don't have to hire transportation there, I guess, especially on a day trip, because you can just walk from Ottery Station to the major destinations. Okay, things that you must see and do in Otaru. They're just walking distance from the train station. So, for example, Sankaku Market, that was our first stop. Sankaku Market is where fresh fish, Otaru is a coastal city, and so it's known for fresh seafood. And we got there almost lunch time. So that was, the opportune time to have a taste of fresh seafood. And we had it at Sankaku Market. It's a covered fish market, and you can see Hakodate crab and many other marine life. And when I say marine life, they're still alive. So you see your lunch still moving, and then you can just choose to have them cooked. But we went to a restaurant. There are several restaurants in the market, and we chose, and they're very popular. So queues were quite long. So we chose one with the shortest queue, and we tried their salmon and hockey fish. It's very good. I love it. Actually, I love fish roe. That's my favorite. And so I had my fill. Really. Yes.
I love that your first attraction that you visited was like a food market, and you started out
Of
with
course, first stop.
grand lunch. So was Otaru also snowy, and was it walkable even in spite of that, like the cold weather?
Yes, it was very snowy. So just like Sapporo, there are lots of snowbanks and ice on the ground. Another tip I can give you is to get crampons. Do you know what crampons are?
No, sorry, what? Can you explain?
Crampon is a contraption that you put on your shoes,
Oh,
and it has some spikes. So that when you
okay.
step on icy ground, there's some sort of friction or
Oh,
mechanical barrier so that you won't slip, because
skin.
it's very slippery. Although I did not wear mine, I had crampons. I was ready, but I didn't feel that I needed it. And in my group, I was the only one that didn't fall, that didn't slip in
Okay.
the snow and on ice. So yeah, so that's my bragging right. But all my friends, all of them just fell on their bum.
Okay. Even though they were wearing the crampons,
Some of them did not, and I think after they fell on their bum, they
they
knew
decided
better, and
to.
yeah, they decided to wear them. Yes.
Oh. So did your friends and you get the crampons while you were in Sapporo, or did you bring them from back home?
I borrowed mine from a brother-in-law who just came from Hokkaido as well, like a month or so before I did.
Oh.
But you can buy it in any store in
It must
Sapporo.
be readily available, yeah. In the
It's
like it's the
yeah, it's
best
common.
city in the world.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So from Sankaku Market, we walked again. So I said you don't have to take a ride
Yeah.
in Otaru. It's a walkable city, and I think that's the charm of Otaru. It's a very laid back, chill city. I love it. It's a city after my own chill heart. So you can adjust your pace, if you want to see so much more, or you just want to relax and promenade, any is okay. You'll get the best of it.
Okay. So what was your next stop then, where you were walking to?
So from Sankaku Market, we passed through what they called Miyako. Sorry, I have trouble with Japanese names. I have to read it. Okay. I have cheat sheet. Miyakodori Shopping Arcade. Okay, Miyakodori Shopping Arcade is very interesting because it's a pedestrian lane, but it's covered. So at least you have some respite from the snow, and you can just go to any shops there. And that's where I bought my snowshoes. because when you walk around a snowy ground, you need not really a very special kind of shoes, but at least one that would have thicker soles, also for warmth and also for traction on the snow. So I bought a pair there. So, just I think another opportune time on our first, second day in Hokkaido, I got those that pair of shoes. So from there, I already wore it, and so I was ready to walk through Otaru. So I think a second stop at Miyakodori, okay, I have to read it again. Miyakodori Shopping Arcade is a good thing. Yeah, so that is also just very near, just a few blocks away from Sankaku Market. And you really pass through it to go to main attraction, which is the Sakaimachi Dori, which is their main street. So I think it makes sense that way. On the way to Sakaimachi Dori, though. Dori, I think, is street in Japan. So when I say Sakaimachi Dori, that means Sakaimachi Street. We also walk through Nichigindori or Nichigen Street. That's where you will see a lot of neoclassical buildings of, Otaru in the past. So it's like walking through time. So, what was interesting about Otaru is it doesn't really feel like you're in Japan because the buildings are not, those traditional Japanese buildings. Traditional Japanese buildings with pitched roof and, upturned eaves
Yeah.
like those. They don't have a lot of that there. What they have are neoclassical buildings, inspired by, Greco-Roman architecture. And it kind of feels more like, Siberia. That's how I imagine Siberia to look. And so it was very interesting because, if you just don't mind the signs, it won't feel like you're in Japan at all.
Oh,
Yes. So I think that was very interesting. So Nichigindori is just on the way to Sakaimachi. So when you walk through it, you'll see all these old buildings there. And one of them was the original Bank of Japan, Otaru Museum, because now it was repurposed into a museum.
okay.
So we got there. I think there was no entrance fee at the time. And so you can see, the old banknotes of Japanese yen. You'll get to see the history of the bank. And I got to touch the original, the OG, what do you call that, door at the bank where they keep the money? This really heavy door. Yeah, so they kept the original of that. So you can see
Like
it
a
there.
like a locker door.
Yes, and it's really thick, right? And also, this building is known for not having any pillar inside. So
Oh,
it's just supported by, the four walls. It's
oh.
very interesting, for that. And I thought, Japan is a seismic area. So
Mm.
considering all those things and the age of the building, which is like more than 100 years old, and it's still standing and it looks very sturdy, that's a feat of engineering.
Mm.
So I think it's very interesting to visit that place, even if you're not into museums, because the building itself is, a thing to see.
Yeah.
So that is in Nichigindori on the way to Sakaimachi. So you'll see all those. And when you get to Otaru Canal, that's the time that you know that you are already in Sakaimachi. So Otaru Canal, well, you know what it is, think Venice. It's similar to that. But this is winter, so it's not really a good time to be rowing boats on that canal. So we just looked at it from the bridge. But there are several other neoclassical buildings around, and many of these buildings have been repurposed into cafes, boutique cafes and souvenir shops. So it's really nice. It's very, I said it's quaint. Yeah. So when you walk through there are lots to see.
So when you were visiting these spots in Otaru, did you already have these in mind from like research that some of your friends might have done or some suggestions that had come from previous like friends and family that had traveled? Or were you just exploring, walking along and seeing the buildings?
I was exploring and, getting really amazed and, my jaw was dropping the whole time because I didn't know what to expect. But of course, my friends, since they planned it, especially one of my friends, shout out to Pauline Reyes. She planned it, so she already knew. And I think she already went to this place before. So
Okay.
she knew what to expect. Yes.
But the beauty of like a small town is that you can just walk along and like whatever interests you, you can just like stop at it a little bit and then walk along and drop by to the next sort of stop that you have.
Exactly. Yeah, so inside it's quite a long street, but
Okay.
you won't get bored of it because it's very scenic.
Mm.
And there are lots of, as I've said, cafes, souvenir shops. And it's also a good timing that we went there later in the day. Remember this was our first full day. So previously, the day before, we just planed in. And so we were a little tired. And so we started out later in the day. But I think it's best. I think we're very lucky to have done so because Sakaimachi Dori is just more charming with the lights on. I think this street should be seen in the evening. And in the winter, night falls much earlier. So you don't really have to stay out so late to do that. It's already dark around 5 p.m.
Okay.
To 6 p.m. So, if and we also are just day trippers, so we had to go back to Sapporo. But, I think you were able to maximize the evening time, the darkness, because it starts earlier. So I think it's best to see that street in the evening because they have this iron wrought lampposts that are
Mm.
I think it's very British. What I felt there was it's like I was stepped into Narnia. I don't know if you know Narnia. Just
Yeah.
I went through a wardrobe and I got through the other side and suddenly it's a winter wonderland and there are, iron posts with lamp
It's crazy
on.
that you said Narnia because I think mentally I was picturing it like that from your.
Yes. So, I just half expected a fawn, to see a fawn there in Narnia. But yeah, that was my vibe. So I was vibing Narnia the whole time I was walking through Sakaimachi. And they have many shops there. One notable one is the Music Box Museum. They
Hmm.
call it a museum, but it's not really a museum. It's more of a shop. So it contains like thousands upon thousands of music boxes, all kinds of shapes and sizes, what have you. They have Hello Kitty, of course, because that's an icon in Japan. Yeah, so it's a really nice place to get souvenirs as well. And you can also have a little bit of street food. So in Otaru, they have this sweet potato ice cream.
Oh,
So what do you call that, ice cream with, so it's potato, it's hot, right? And then they top it with scoops of ice cream on
okay.
top. So it kind of like you get the heat and the cold at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
So, you can eat that while walking on the street. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's an experience. I love it. Yes.
So once you were done exploring the street, what you turned back to Sapporo?
So, of course, that was already evening, and later in the evening, it started snowing. So, again, I love that because I came there for the snow, and so I
Yeah.
got it. And so they also have like digital temperature readings. So I finally saw 0 degrees Celsius, and then later on it was -3 degrees or -4. So I had a picture, taken with that because that's a novelty for us Filipinos.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was a big deal for me.
For
Yes.
everyone from tropical countries, I think anytime, see the snow and the sub-zero temperatures, it's like miraculous almost.
Yes, it's magical. It's wonderland, right? So, but that signaled though that okay, it was time to go back to Sapporo, lest we get stranded by, another blizzard. But before we did so, of course, we had to eat. Filipinos love to eat. So we chose a local chain. It's called Sanpachi Ramen.
Oh,
So that's just on our way back to Otaru Station, the
okay.
train station. Yeah, so we dropped by there and we had the ramen sanpachi with that very big fish cake on top of it. The restaurant is also quite quaint. It's a wood, it's like a log cabin type of building. It's off the street though, so you really have to look for it because when you look at it in the map, it's like it's along the road, but you have to like turn a certain way and go to farther from the road. Also, there was no English sign, but thankfully, one of my friends, Pauline, she can read Japanese, so she saw that sign, and so we had ramen, which was really good. The hot bowl of ramen when it's snowing outside, it's perfect. And so it's this log cabin kind of restaurant, but of course, this is Japan, so it's modern. They have a robot waiter serving the food. So that was quite an experience as well. So we had that before we headed back to Sapporo in the evening. So that was the second day. That was only the second day, and we even started, late. So yeah, so I think the next day we went around Sapporo, if I'm not mistaken. So okay, so now we are going to talk about Sapporo. In Sapporo, there are many also attractions there. And it's also convenient to go around because they have subway. That's one. So it's easier to go from one place in Sapporo and one district to another. Another good thing about Sapporo, they have underground walkway, and their underground walkways are huge. So if you're the kind of person that's not really into cold weather, and no matter how beautiful snow looks, sometimes you just have too much of it and you just want to feel a bit warmer, you can walk through the underground walkways. So it's very warm. Of course, you don't have there's no danger of slipping. And these walkways also are like little malls because there are some shops there. There are like convenience stores there. So it's a convenient city to go around in. Okay, so you won't have any problems going around there. The main thing also that we did in Sapporo was to try their miso soup. When you go to Japanese restaurants, we always have miso soup, and this is the birthplace of it. Okay, so we're like the ground zero of miso, and it's in Sapporo, and they have this particular alley. It's just a small alley, a narrow one, and it's considered to be where the original miso soup was first served. Okay, so it's called Ganso, Sapporo Ramen Alley. They just call it Ramen Alley for short. So, there's a line of small restaurants there. You can just choose any, and they serve this soup. Of course, you can have it with many other kinds of Japanese food. So I think that is one thing that you shouldn't miss in Sapporo.
Is this one of the alleys that's like an underground alley, the one that you mentioned?
This one is not underground though. This is above ground. This is in a block.
Oh, okay.
So, this is traditional. So it's in the old part of town.
Okay.
Mhm. The underground walkway is really just from going from one place to another.
Oh, okay.
That makes it convenient. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, having miso soup on a snowy day sounds absolutely fascinating. Yeah.
Yes, just perfect. Another thing that's good with cold weather and with snow. Do you know what goes with cold weather? Something that makes you warm inside? Do you have any idea, Ananya?
There could be many things. Am I to guess something that's Japanese?
Well, it is Japanese, but it's specifically Sapporo. It's Sapporo Beer.
Oh.
Yeah, so when you drink beer, you feel warm inside. So they have Sapporo Beer, of course, and their original brewery is also located, of course, in Sapporo because it's eponymous. So it's already been turned into a museum. We also visited there. You can see the big vats of, what do you call these barrels? You roll out the barrel, right, of beer. It's also, this building is also a brick building, which looks very nice, very beautiful amidst the snow. So I think before you go inside the building, it's a very Instagrammable
Ah.
to have photos outside, which I did with I always travel with my toy dinosaur. So I have pictures of myself, selfies of that with my little dino. And you also get a taste of Sapporo beer there. And you get the history as well.
So how
So
was
that's another destination.
how did you like the Sapporo beer?
Oh, I loved it. I'm not a big beer drinker, but Sapporo beer is light.
Mm.
So it's very smooth to the throat. Yeah, so I loved it. I had a glass. Although I'm a teetotaler.
Is it so chilled even in the snowy weather?
Yeah, I think beer goes well with cold weather. It makes you feel
Okay.
warm. Yes, as I've said. So also the architecture of this museum is really nice. They
Mm.
have this really big like chandeliers with candles.
Oh.
It has that medieval vibe.
Mm.
So the building itself is something to see. And the beer is, of course, a plus.
This is all on your third day of your trip.
Yeah, somehow I think maybe this is not chronological anymore. But another place, if you're not really into to beer or alcoholic beverage, if you like something sweeter, in Sapporo they also have a chocolate factory.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yeah. So if you're the sweeter kind, then that place is for you. It's also very nice. They call it Shiroi Koibito, chocolate factory. Yeah, I have to check my cheat sheet.
I'm
It's
not.
also very nice because they have like a theme park outside of it. One thing about Hokkaido or Sapporo, when you go to a place, like they call it, for example, a beer museum, a chocolate factory, they don't only just have that. They have something else to go with it. So like in this chocolate factory, there's like a theme park, a little theme park outside of it. And it's very British inspired. I think the owner, the founder of the chocolate factory was probably a big British fan. And so he created this British inspired theme park, which is very Instagrammable. So again, we got there late in the day, which was very lucky for us because of the lights.
Mm.
So I think it's best also to visit this place in the evening. So maybe you do the beer museum during daytime because you don't really need, lights there.
Yeah.
But for the chocolate factory, it's better to do it later in the day, at the end of the day. So
Mm.
you end your city tour there. Yes. And of course, you buy souvenirs, boxes of chocolate there. Shiroi Koibito is a kind of cookie with milk chocolate or white chocolate as filling. So
Oh.
that's their specialty.
That sounds pretty great. Yeah, I'm not even going to attempt to name the names. They're too difficult for me. That
Okay,
sounds,
so another place, I don't know, we're always eating.
but
Another thing that you
I guess
shouldn't
that's the
miss.
thing about cold weather, right? It makes
Yeah,
you,
it makes you hungry and walking around as well.
yeah.
So another thing that you should try in Sapporo is they have this special bread. Okay, I have to read again because I won't be able to remember this. It's called chikua roll. It's a roll and it has tuna inside and
Hmm.
mayonnaise.
Hmm.
It's very savory. So you can go to Donguri Bakery. It's in Sapporo. It's also near the Sapporo Clock Tower, which is a major tourist destination as well. So you can just walk through there and have this particular roll.
Hmm.
So you have soup, you have beer, you have chocolate, and you have roll. We're on a
Yeah.
roll
You're
in
sorted.
Sapporo. Yes. So it seems that Sapporo is a food. See, I did not expect it to be that way, but it turned out
Yeah.
our tour to be that way. A foodie place.
That's the best kind of place.
Yes.
Yeah. Were there anything apart from the food destinations that you covered on these days in Sapporo?
Okay, well, Sapporo being like the base of your Hokkaido trip, and if you're someone like me from a tropical country, definitely you wouldn't have any winter clothes. And so Sapporo is the place to go shopping for winter clothes. Yeah, so of course they have many shops, from the high-end brand names to thrift shops. And being always on a budget, I got my winter clothes from a thrift shop. Yeah, it's called Second Avenue. I think
Oh.
because it's pre-loved,
Hmm.
but I got very good bargains there for, heavy coats with down feathers and hoodie. So you can get all of that in Sapporo. So usually what people would do on the first day or the second day, you stay in Sapporo, you buy all your winter gear
Hmm.
uh, in Sapporo.
Sapporo has like helped you get sorted for all future winter trips. You got the shoes, you got your down jacket,
Yes.
everything.
Yes, because I don't have anything for winter.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I live in a tropical paradise. So that's another thing to do in Sapporo. They have this store, it's called Don Quixote,
Hmm.
from the Spanish novel. I don't know why they named it that way, but they call it Donkey for short. It's also, it has everything.
Hmm.
So from souvenirs to clothes to even electronics and food and Kit Kat and everything. So it's like a one-stop shop. And of
Hmm.
course they have it in Sapporo as well. So I think it's worth a visit. Donkey.
Okay. So when did you do your other day trip?
Yeah, so one of those days in the week we went to Furano. So I said earlier, Furano is a bit farther up north. I think it took about two hours or so to get there. So again, we took the JR train to Furano, and I think we had to change station at one point from Sapporo. So the train ride is very nice in itself. So again, from a tropical boy like me, just looking out the window and looking out like this. That's why I chose this background because this is in fact very similar to what I saw from the train. Good thing about taking a train, it cuts through, farmlands and forest areas. So you really get to see rural Hokkaido from the train. It's very scenic. I was expecting to sleep on the train because I usually sleep when I'm on a public transportation, but you couldn't really. You just have to take it all in and take videos of the passing scenery. So
This
the
was
train ride itself was an event for me. Yes.
so the train ride from Sapporo to Furano. That was the one.
Yes, that's the one because it's a longer trip and also we had to change stations at one point. So in effect, we had to take two train rides to get there.
So both of these were quite picturesque.
Very picturesque. Very. And in winter, of course, it has a different view because of that, because of the snow, it's just all white and, trees dripping with icicles. Oh, it's just pure magic, really. So that's exactly how I imagined winter to look like, and Hokkaido delivered and more. That's what I can say. So I got my winter fix really in that 1 week. So in Furano, there are many places you can go to. The first stop we had was the shrine, a Shinto shrine, Furano shrine, which is just very near a McDonald's that we had breakfast in. And there you can see, the torii gates and the traditional Japan. So this place really looks like, okay, I am in Japan. That's where you can get your Japanese architecture and shrine temple relics. So we just dropped in just for a few minutes. And then after that, we took a cab. So Furano is a bigger place. So the difference between Furano and Otaru, you can just walk all over town. It's fine. But Furano, no, you can't. It's a bigger place because it's in central Hokkaido and also it's mountain area. So you really have to take a taxi to get around quickly. So our first stop was a winery. This winery, Furano Winery, is on top of a hill. I think it's a good stop because for one, since you have that vantage view of the panorama of Furno, it's a really nice place to look at Furno from a bird's eye view. Yes. And the winery itself is not very big. It's just a small one, but quite quaint. And you also get to taste Furano wine there. You can buy souvenirs from this place. So that was our first stop. And then we had to take another taxi ride going to the Furno Cheese Factory. So this one, Furno is a rural city. And so farming is one of their main industries, and of course, livestock. And so they have cheese and more popularly butter, really. So this is where, if you're into that, then you can get cheese and butter here. And it's also quite beautiful because the cheese factory is also like a wooden cabin, and there is like a grove of birch, white birch all around. It's very beautiful. So, even if they have this like small cafe with a window, you just chill there and look out at the snowy landscape with the birch trees. For me, that was a highlight, that view. So I would not forget that. Yeah, those unforgettable for me. And then, so that's during the day. So I think during the day you can do those things. Now, if you go there during the summer, it's also known for flowers. So Furano is a flower city, and they have many different, colored flowers there. So it's also very scenic during summer. So that's why I said I think Hokkaido is an all year destination. Every season has something to offer.
But I'm totally digging the descriptions you're giving me of, you being indoors, it being cold outside, and you having like the most delicious food. That sounds absolutely magical to me. And I'm in Delhi right now, which is like really hot and humid. So that's totally right now.
Okay, so that's during the day. So you can do that Furano tour during the day. Now, when evening comes, and of course in winter it comes early, that's when you head to the Ningle Terrace. What is a Ningle Terrace? It's like a small a village beside the New Prince Hotel. So you go to this hotel first, and you can just walk to this. It's like a collection of boutique cottages. Yeah, and it's a terrace, so it's on a slope. So it has different levels. And each cottage would showcase a particular kind of handicraft. So they have a lot of woodwork there, carvings, calligraphy. So all of these traditional gift items as well, souvenirs. So you can walk through these terraces, and you can look at you can go into each. So their wooden cottages is very quaint, and it's actually in a forest, so there are tall trees looming above, and there are lamps on the footpath, and you can see the lamps snaking down the slope. So it's a very scenic spot. So very Instagrammable. The downside there, of course, there can be crowds, of course, because it attracts visitors and tourists. So you just have to contend with that. But like I said, you go there in the evening, and when you stay a little bit later, then the crowd thins somehow, and you can see it with fewer people. It's very beautiful with the fairy lights. They have fairy lights on posts and on the cottages, on the trees. So it's very Christmassy. It reminds me of Christmas. It has that vibe, so snow, fairy lights, wooden cottages. Very nice place, definitely. A photographer's dream. So we capped our visit to Furano there. So that was indeed a highlight. And then we headed back to Sapporo. And since snowfall usually is stronger or heavier at night, I think. So again, there was a threat of blizzard. And in fact, our train service was delayed for like an hour. We had to wait for an hour because I don't know, for some reason they have to like probably shovel snow out of the train tracks. So that's a downside. That's something unpredictable when traveling during winter. You just have to expect it so that you don't feel disappointed. But anyway, we were already on our way back. The only anxiety that we had that we might not be able to make it to Sapporo, and we might have to, we'll be stuck somewhere, either in Furano or some other town, and we'd have to stay the night, of course. But thankfully, that didn't happen. So after an hour or so, a train service resumed, and we were on our way back to Sapporo. So that was our day trip.
Are there regular announcements to inform you that the train service would be back, or were you looking for options to stay in Furano?
Actually, I think there were announcements but they were in Japanese.
Oh.
So in Japan, they don't, at least in Hokkaido, they don't have English translations. So we would hear some announcement through the PA system, but they were in Japanese. So we didn't really know what was happening. We were just like sitting there and waiting. But I said after an hour, the train started. So we made it to Sapporo. Yeah, so you just have to expect that really in winter time.
I'm sure you must have, in case it wasn't possible to take the train back, it would be possible to find accommodations within Furano as well to stay the night.
Yeah, I think so because it's a tourist city.
Yeah.
And maybe even the towns on the way. I think probably you could find a small hotel, a ryokan. They have this ryokan in Japan. Do you know what that is? It's
Yeah.
a traditional hotel. So Maybe you can find one, I don't know. But
But good that you didn't have to face that hassle
we
of
didn't have to.
you got
Yes. So
lucky.
thank God. Yes.
Yeah. So what souvenirs did you pick up from the village that you were just mentioning in Furano?
The Ningle Terraces. They call it
Yeah.
Ningle Terraces.
Single
Yes.
terraces. Yeah.
So you can buy some wooden knickknacks there.
Hmm.
Yes. They have many small things. It's and also you can watch artisans make them.
Oh.
So it's not just like a shop where you can buy souvenir. You can see the artists and the artisans making them. So during that time, we saw a wood carver, doing
Oh,
his thing.
that must be quite the experience, just to see them
Yes,
making it and then being able to also see the finished product.
yes. So it's kind of like an immersive
Mm.
experience.
Yeah. So was that all of your trip, or have you missed out some bits of what you did in Sapporo as well?
So I think, yeah, when I described Sapporo earlier, that was not really chronological. So I think a lot of them happened in different days. Yes. So, and as I've said, there was a day that we got snowed in because of blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to factor that in your schedule. So I think when you plan a trip to Hokkaido in winter, you have to add a day or two extra just to give you elbow room, just in
Mm.
case, there's blizzard or something and you get snowed in and you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So allow for that because if you're going to pack everything into this tight schedule and then
Yeah.
that happens, then you're going to be disappointed, right? Because you'd
Yeah.
have to drop one destination.
Yeah. And you like it's almost as if nature is asking you to also relax on your vacation
Yeah,
for a bit.
so you have to listen to Mother Nature. When she speaks, we have no choice.
Yeah. But that said, were there any like spots or attractions that you wanted to visit in Sapporo and you missed out on?
Yes, of course, because I stayed there for a week and got snowed in for a day. And so I missed out on two things. But my friends, because I had to come back here to the Philippines because of a family commitment, but my friends didn't have that. So they stayed on for a couple more days. And so they were able to do
Oh.
what I was not able to do. And so I'm going to just refer to what they told me they went to. So, of course, they had to try skiing. I mean, you
Mm.
don't go to Hokkaido winter and not ski. In my case, though, I had already had my ski experience in Yamanashi, also in Japan, but that's near Tokyo. So I said, I'm okay with, I got my ski fix. I'm fine. So anyway, my friends wanted to experience that. And so
Mm.
they went to Teine Ski Resort, which is also very near Sapporo. Actually, it's not the biggest one. It's Niseko. Niseko, I think, is more popular.
Mm.
And I think it's more for really experienced skiers, Niseko. So I think for bunny slopes and beginners, I think maybe Teine, my friend said, was more practical choice. Also, it was nearer Sapporo.
Mm.
I think just an hour by train and bus.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was also a venue for the 1972 Winter Olympics.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think I missed out on that, but they did that. And the advantage there, I think the difference between the snow experience in Hokkaido and in the rest of Japan is what they call is, I don't know how they pronounce it, Japao or Japo, maybe Japao. Japao is short for Japan powder.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is a powdery kind of snow,
Mm.
which is, I think, ideal for skiing. And also, I think it kind of cushions you a little bit more when you fall on your bum, because that will certainly happen, especially if you're a beginner. In my case, I did my skiing in Yamanashi and I skied on hard ice.
Mm.
And so when you fall, it's harder and more painful. So I think Japan is more ideal for skiing. And so that's what they have in this place, in Taine Ski Resort. And then the next day, my friends went to Lake Shikotsu. So Lake Shikotsu is also near Sapporo, but in the north. And the part of it is frozen. So it's a partly frozen lake in winter. And in the shore, they have many sculptures as well. So that was good because we missed the snow festival, as I've said, and mostly because of me, because of my family commitments. And so I was thankful about that my friends who also missed the festival because of me, they were able to see, the snow and the ice sculptures in this lake. So at least they had that instead of the snow festival. So I think this is a good alternative. If you cannot really go to the snow festival, then you have, or the ice festival, then you have the ice sculptures here in Lake Shikotsu.
So these two activities you missed out on, and perhaps it wants a new trip to Hokkaido where you can enjoy these two as
That calls for another trip to Hokkaido. Yes.
AJ, coming to where you stayed in Sapporo, could you tell us more about the hotel you were in?
Okay, the hotel is called Nest Hotel. So that's why we really nested very well because the name itself is Nest Hotel Sapporo Ikeme. So I think this is a chain hotel. So I think in Sapporo there might be another one, I think, because when you try to look for it in Google Maps, there's another one that comes up. But we stayed at Ikeme. Ikeme is a district near Sapporo Station. So when you plane in Sapporo, the airport actually is outside of Sapporo. It's Chitose, which is a town up north. And you have to take a train going to Sapporo from the airport. And so I chose a hotel that's near Sapporo Station so that I didn't have to, travel again, from the train station to the hotel. It's just walking distance. And so this is the Ikime district of Sapporo. That is around Sapporo Station. So very convenient if you're coming and going to the airport. So Nest Hotel, we chose it because, well, number one, for the location, which is near Sapporo Station, but there are many hotels that are near the station as well. Of course, it's very affordable. It's a business hotel. So it's pretty much very straightforward. There are really no frills to it. So we didn't have, say, buffet breakfast, but we didn't feel that we needed that because, when you're visiting a place, especially for a short span of time, you just want to start your day as early as you can and, get moving. So we didn't feel that we needed to have breakfast at the hotel anyway. And that also gave us a chance to eat outside. So, and the room is just a regular room. It's a twin bed. But what I really loved about it, and I think this is true in all of Japan, of course, is the toilet. You know how it is, the Japanese toilet. It's warm when you sit on it, and also it's high tech. So it's just a push button bidet, and they have a small bath as well. So you can relax after a day of walking and slipping in the snow, skiing, whatnot. So I think it served its purpose, for our hotel. So I had no complaints with it.
So no meals were had at the hotel, none of them.
I don't remember now if there is a choice, but we didn't choose that because we just wanted to go outside anyway. We only had a week, so we didn't want to stay at the hotel that long. Of
Yeah.
course, until we got snowed in. But fortunately, there's a convenience store beside it, so that's where we got our, coffee and stuff.
Uh, and what was your immediate neighborhood like in Ikime? Apart from the convenience store, were there any other like restaurants or dining opportunities? in the immediate vicinity?
Yes, there are. Ikeme is the entertainment district of Sapporo. So there are many bars, there are many izakaya. Izakaya is a Japanese bar. There are many restaurants, of course, of all cuisines. I had curry Japanese food. So it's a fusion of Indian taste and Japanese noodles. So that was very interesting. That restaurant was near the hotel as well, and it's near the shopping area. The Sapporo station is not just a station, it's actually a mall. It's a station with a mall or a mall with a station. I don't really know, but there's Starbucks there and many shops, even high-end shops.
Hmm.
So all of that is just walking distance. That's why I chose this area, Ikime. So you'll never go wrong with Ikime. Everything's there.
Yeah.
Everything is just walking distance.
So even on the day that you were snowed in, you could actually like be around in that happening neighborhood at least, right? Or
Yes,
yeah.
because you can just walk around.
Yeah.
And anyway, subway is not affected by blizzard, so you can still go around the city even when there's cancellation of train service, we mean the intercity train service.
Hmm.
So that does not mean the subway. So
Yeah.
you can still pretty much go around the city, no problem.
Ah.
And there are buses as well.
So you chose a really happening neighborhood for your hotel, so
It
you could.
is. It's a
Yeah.
place to be in Sapporo. So it's a good base.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, that there were so many other things in the neighborhood to do as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Coming to any tips or advice, would you like to share with first-time travelers visiting Hokkaido? I know that you've already peppered a little bit of tips with going
Um,
through your itinerary, but anything
I
overall that you'd like to add?
Well, maybe just to reiterate, in summary, number one, probably extend a day or two to make elbow room for uncertain weather conditions. Number two is you get your JR pass. That is cost effective because you'll be taking the train a lot, going out of the city,
Yeah.
okay, going to different cities. Of course, we got a pocket Wi-Fi. We got a group one, so all of us just connected to it. What else? If you're the kind of person who's bound to slip on the ice, I suggest that you buy some crampons, which you can get also in Sapporo, and
Yeah.
buy your winter gear there as well. So if you don't want to really buy the, expensive ones because probably you'll just experience winter once or twice or, at most 3 times in your life and you don't really need to own, branded coats or whatnot, then you go to Second Avenue, which is a good thrift shop for winter clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are all
so
pretty
I
great.
think those are my tips.
Those are all pretty great ones. Yeah. Especially for people traveling from tropical destinations to snowy lands, magical snowy lands.
Yes. Yeah, and because of the uncertainty of the weather as well, when it's time for your departure, on your departure day, because the airport, as I've said, is outside of Sapporo, so you have to take a JR train to the airport.
Yeah.
It's not accessible through subway. And so that can be affected by train cancellation, train service cancellations. So I suggest on your departure day, maybe no matter what time your flight is, maybe don't schedule anything anymore. I think the earlier that you can get to the airport, because who knows, later in the day there might be cancellation. And I got to the airport, just photo finish, just at the time of, opening of the gate. So, my heart was in my shoe the whole time. And so if you don't want that kind of stress, then go to the airport earlier, especially in winter.
Account for the weather in everything that you do.
Yeah. So always have to be aware of, of Mother Nature.
Yeah. It's been great talking to you, AJ. I have my last question now. If you
Okay.
if you have to say one thing or maybe two, the best thing that happened on your trip or something that you enjoyed the most, what would it
I would say the snow, really. That's what I went there for, and that's what I got. And I got a lot of it. I got the I got city snow, I got countryside snow, I got frozen ice, I think, yeah. When they say snow, it's all different kind. There's slush and there's powdery, there's harder ones. So I would say that, I think winter wonderland, that's the term I would give to the trip and to Hokkaido in general
be?
in winter. It is a wonderland, truly a
Hmm.
wonderland.
It delivered on all your expectations.
It exceeded my expectation, actually.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So Hokkaido is the winter wonderland you were looking for.
I got to Narnia. That's one, yeah. I
Yeah.
crossed the wardrobe to a winter wonderland.
Wow. So with that, we must wrap up our session. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us the tips and tricks from your travels to Hokkaido. It has been lovely listening to you. I hope you have enjoyed recalling and reliving your journey as well.
The pleasure is all mine. Just, thinking about remembering and recalling, oh my God, it's like I'm there again with this background. So yeah, maybe I have to go back there.
Yeah. So with this, I will close it, and I hope that the viewers will also find your trip helpful in planning their own trips. And thank you so much. Bye
It's my pleasure. Bye. Nice talking to you, Ananya.
bye. Same here. Yeah.